Welcome back. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, the NBA. We only have one game on today as we see the beginning of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Mavericks and Minnesota Timberwolves, Game 1. I have a couple player props who I think wins and covers tonight and the series, as well as Trina's play of the day. But first and foremost, my name's Austin from Calling Our Shot. Today we are joined by a special guest, the Brooms here. A 2-0 day yesterday. Now, typically, I don't do and bring out the Brooms when we go 2-0. However, yesterday, we cashed Aaron Nesmith's over in points. We cashed a plus 175 same game parlay, and we're on a 6-0 run. So you know what? Figured I can do whatever I want. But today, we're going to try to do the same thing once again today and go 2-0. Hopefully, we helped you make some money yesterday. That SGP was sweaty, but man, Jason and Jalen did their jobs and got the job done. Let's try to go 2-0 once again today and add icing on top. Trina, my wife's POD, Tyrese Halliburton, over 18.5 points, cashed in the third quarter. I don't know how she did it, but we will certainly love to see that. She is another winner, hopefully delivered at the end of this video. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we will not track that towards my record, but it is fun if she does end up having a good record. But either way, if you are new, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, drop a like. Let's have a wonderful Western Conference Finals, and hopefully we can go 2-0 just like we started the Eastern Conference Finals. We had a great game there. Hopefully we'll get another great game tonight. Without further ado, let's dive into the picks. I do want to talk one more time about Bet365. They still have a great offer going right now. You can sign up, top link in the description, bet $5 on any game, and you get $150 in bonus bets, regardless of how your bet does. So you can win or lose the bet. Doesn't matter. You get $150 in bonus bets. Like I said, yesterday we used the best odds on that same game parlay on Bet365. So if you have it in your state, you definitely should sign up. They have really good odds. Their lines are pretty slow to move as well. Available in Colorado, Louisiana, Arizona, Iowa, Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So a lot of states out there. They've been going into a lot of new states. I want to say they're going to Pennsylvania soon. Don't quote me on that. But let's dive into the picks today. That's not what you came here for. You came here for some winners, and hopefully we can turn that 6-0 run into an 8-0 run. And we'll start with the guy that is on the thumbnail. Guy that's pretty good, Luka Doncic. I like his over 28.5 points tonight, which is currently minus 108 on DraftKings. Now, I don't mind this at 29.5. I believe FanDuel was the only book that was there, although FanDuel was down this morning for whatever reason. Probably up by the time you're watching this. Now, obviously, Luka is good. We know that. And he had obviously some injury here, but coming off a rest, a couple days of rest. They last played on Friday. Obviously, we're on Wednesday now. I like him to come in here and play pretty aggressive and play pretty well. Now, I think this is the last time we will see a 28.5 line for Luka in this series. Now, if you look back at how he did against OKC, obviously dealt with some injuries, some bad shooting games, but if you remember that series, they were doubling him left and right. Anytime he drove, doubled. And they obviously made the other guys beat him, which is why you saw big games from PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr. as well. I don't see the Minnesota Timberwolves playing that same defense. It's a T-Wolves team that we've seen all throughout this playoffs. They're going one-on-one coverage because they trust their defenders. They trust Rudy Gobert on anyone. They trust Jaden McDaniels, who made second-team All-NBA defense, I believe. Good props to him. But at the end of the day, if they're going to play one-on-one coverage, I'm going to take Luka's over in points. Simple as that. Now, this season, Luka's averaged 33 points per game on the road, going over this line in 79% of games. When he attempted 20-plus field goal attempts on the road, over in 91% of games, 31 of 34. Now, obviously, I can't shoot for Luka Doncic, but like I said, given that he's probably getting man-on-man coverage, one-on-one, I see the field goal attempts being there. Last series against OKC, field goal attempts were still there here and there, but he didn't really shoot a ton because, again, double team. I don't see double teams coming here. And while Jaden McDaniels, I respect him. He's a really good perimeter defender, one of the best defenders in the league. He's outmatched here because I don't think anyone could guard Luka Doncic one-on-one. They're going to need help, and I don't think the help's coming for Jaden McDaniels tonight. So I think Luka will be able to take advantage of this matchup, and he has done so this season. I don't really love to look at regular season trends because playoff basketball is much different. But in the last 3 games, first Minnesota, 1 last year, 2 this year, Luka's played well, scoring 33, 39, and 34 points on 20, 27, and 26 field goal attempts, plus another 15, 7, and 8 free throw attempts. So been cooking in this matchup, and that's because that's really been since they traded for Rudy Gobert, and they're playing a lot of one-on-one coverage. Look, when you got Luka and you got Rudy Gobert out there, they're going to involve Rudy Gobert in a lot of screens, either involve him or involve Mike Conley. Either way, 2 matchups that Luka can expose. But if he's going to involve Gobert, which I imagine he's involved a lot of, we know Gobert plays a lot of drop coverage. And by playing drop coverage, you're going to need McDaniels to either go over the screen or under the screen. If it goes under, get a Luka step back 3. If he goes over, get Luka coming down with the head of steam into the paint. And I don't trust Rudy Gobert to stop him. Luka's got way too many moves. He gets to get to the floater. He can get into the free throw line too. Look, I think the Timberwolves are a really, really good defensive team, but I think they could maybe be a little bit lackluster tonight. And I think Luka and Kyrie, for what it's worth, are going to have to carry this team points-wise. I don't see big games coming from guys like PJ Washington, guys like maybe Derek Lively, guys like that played really well against the Thunder, but much different matchup. A lot more size here. I think that benefits Luka a little bit more. So give me his over in points. I know it's not, Austin got in his bag for this one. No, but I really like Luka tonight. I don't think his line should be 28.5. I think this is factoring in how he played last series against OKC. Much different defensive scheme. Today, you have a much more one-on-one defensive scheme, which is why we saw Jamal Murray get a lot of field goal attempts. Jamal just was sucking last series. When he started to make shots, he went over. If Luka makes shots tonight, he will go over this line pretty easily. Let's just hope he doesn't shoot like 30%, which had a couple games like that against OKC. Now, my second pick is going to be one that I don't anticipate a lot of people being on. Kind of like the Aaron Nesmith one yesterday. Not a lot of guys were on that. Pretty sweat-free. Hopefully, this is a guy that's pretty sweat-free. He's coming off the bench. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, over 6.5 points, plus 105 on BetMGM. Now, this line will not go up to 7.5 unless something like Mike Conley gets ruled out. Conley obviously could get ruled out. Was dealing with an Achilles injury last series. I expect Conley to play, but there's always that slim chance that maybe Mike Conley doesn't play and we get some good CLV here, but I'm anticipating him to play, and I'm going to abbreviate Nickeil Alexander-Walker to NAW because I don't feel like saying his full name for the next few minutes. Now, we've seen kind of a up and down playoffs for NAW. We saw in the first round versus Phoenix, he scored 18, 10, 16, and then 5 points with field goal attempts, 12, 10, 10, and 9. Then the second round, not as much usage versus Denver. We saw him 5, 14, 6, 2, 14, 9, and 0 points on, the field goal attempts are there. And now I'll kind of remove that slide off the screen and put in summary. Versus Phoenix, he averaged 31 minutes per game, 12.3 points per game, and about 10.3 field goal attempts. However, against Denver, the minutes were down, the field goal attempts were down, and so were the points. Heck, two of his games that he went over, both of them relied on Rudy Gobert being out, which was game 2. And then Mike Conley was out again in game 5 or 6, whenever that was. I think game 5. Obviously, when those guys are out, he's going to play a lot more because he's their seventh man. I mean, you got Naz Reid ahead of him, but he's their seventh man. He's their first guard off the bench. That was not a great series for him against Denver because what does Denver do? Well, they got two bigs. They got Aaron Gordon, who can't stretch the floor. And then they have, obviously, Nikola Jokic. And outside of that, Michael Porter Jr., sure, he's a big out there too. But at the end of the day, they needed two bigs like Cat, Rudy Gobert. They needed Naz Reid. Two of those three had to play basically every minute because they had Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic playing a ton of minutes as well. This series is a lot different. We saw in that first series against Phoenix, we saw a lot of NAW because they have Beal, Booker, Durant. Those are three guys that can handle the rock and go score against you. You kind of need great perimeter defenders out there. And while Cat is he's been a good defender this postseason, I don't trust him out on the perimeter guarding a guy like Kyrie Irving or Luka Doncic if he gets switched onto him. And I think Mike Conley could be a liability if they try to get him involved defensively too. So I think this is a better series for Nickeil Alexander-Walker to play. And I think we see similar minutes to what he saw in that Phoenix series where they need him out there because he's a really good defender. And Kyrie, obviously, and Luka are capable of getting either of those, Mike Conley or Jaden McDaniels into foul trouble as well. I don't see this being a big skill set for Kyle Anderson. So I think we see a good usage out of NAW tonight. Plus, it's game 1. You typically play your bench a little bit more. And we saw when the Timberwolves were fully healthy. I want to count games where Conley, Ant-Man, Cat, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, McDaniels, all those guys are playing. Nickeil Alexander-Walker averaged 8.4 points per game in games with 20 or more minutes, going over in 63% of games. At home, I trust a role player like this to show up. We saw all last series. The Dallas Mavericks, their defensive scheme was, hey, Ant-Man, well, in this scenario, Shea was driving. We're going to send a little bit of help. The guy in the corner is going to be wide open. The Thunder couldn't knock down those shots. However, I feel like a guy like NAW should be able to knock down them. Heck, his primary scoring zones are mostly at the top of the key or in the corners, which is where the Mavericks really struggle in that corner. They're like 23rd or 24th defensively against corner shots in the regular season. So I think this is a guy that steps up. Didn't play a lot in game 7. Obviously, it's a game 7. You're going to have your starters play big rotations. Also, he shot 0 for 6. So due to have some shots go in tonight, I looked at his over in 3s, but I could see maybe getting some buckets in transition as well. Really good defender. He's going to get play on this court because he's going to be a really good defender. They want guys out there that maybe you get Kyrie switched off Ant-Man. Well, we want a guy to be like Nickeil Alexander-Walker switched there. So I really think this is a good series for him. Sure, it's kind of it might seem like a dart throw, but I really like NAW. Give me his over 6.5 points, plus 105. I love that. Now let's move to who I think wins and covers tonight and in this series. I lean the Mavericks, both of those. I lean the Mavericks tonight, plus 4.5. I lean the Mavericks to win the series. I feel like one of the squarest things people are going to do, Timberwolves just beat the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to pick them to win the series at minus 140 or minus 150. I don't know. I didn't really like the Nuggets. They just were not. Obviously, the Nuggets were the reigning champs, but they had no depth on their team at all. I mean, their bench sucked. The only games they won was because the bench showed up. But outside of them, they rely on Aaron Gordon consistently for points. MPJ is a fraud unless it's against the Lakers. I like what I see out of this Mavericks team. This is a team that's been really good defensively, and they have the rim protection to slow down guys if they want to drive. And this is going to come down to a three-point battle. And I think they could beat the Timberwolves if it comes down to a three-point battle. They got Kyrie, they got Luka, they got guys like Josh Green's played well off the bench, Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington. I don't know. I'm not going to put any of my own money on the Mavericks tonight or to win the series, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I think we could see maybe a Mavs-Celtics NBA Finals. Wouldn't shock me at all. So I'm curious what you guys think. I'm not putting any of my own money on there. If I had to bet, I had to root for a team, I would be rooting for the Timberwolves because I want to see them succeed. I really like them and their story, and they obviously haven't been there in a long, long time, 20-plus years. So I root for the T-Wolves, but I think the Mavericks win this series and win tonight. Maybe not win tonight, but cover plus 4.5. Just my lean. But now it's what you all waited for. It's time for Trina's POD. She is not here, per usual. She's off to work. However, she did load up. FanDuel was down. She loaded up DraftKings. So if it misses, it's not her fault because I had to switch up apps for her. Loaded up what she wanted. And her POD of the day, Anthony Edwards, over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Her POD. You can fade it if you want. Like I said, she doesn't watch any basketball. I'm not going to track it towards my record, but figured we'd have some fun. She's currently 1-0 with Halliburton over yesterday. Today she's on Ant-Man. I put her analysis in the little description. He has a kind smile. That is all I got from him. I'm not going to question it. I didn't like the Halliburton read yesterday. Don't love this one either, but hey, we're not going to question greatness. She was really good a few years ago when she was doing her NBA Finals and Conference Finals picks. She doesn't watch any basketball, so if you're looking for a pick to tail, maybe this one isn't it. But hey, you do whatever you want with it. That's her POD. Ant-Man over in PRAs. See if she goes 2-0 in her playoff record. But those are my favorite picks of the day. We're rolling with Luka, rolling with NAWs over in points. And then if you want to roll with either of my series or predictions tonight or Trina's picks, go for it. But let's try to go 2-0. Have another great start to these Western Conference Finals. And I'll see you guys back tomorrow where we have game 2 of Pacers and Celtics. I'll see you guys then. Peace.